everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friend P.M.H. Atwater. Hi, P.M.H.
Hi.
I am so honored to have you here. P.M.H. is a legend in the near-death experiencer community. She has written 18 books, and the subject matter and the research that she's done is remarkable. So, P.M.H., what do we want to start with? Where do we want to go here?
Well, let's start with when I died.
Yes, because you had 3 near-death
I
experiences.
had 3 near-death experiences in 1977. One was January 2nd. The third one was January 4, or the second one, and the third one was March 29. And I want to emphasize that the only reason I do research is because of what I was told in my third near-death experience. I was raped, became pregnant, and it's because of what I went through in the pregnancies, miscarriage, and it's because of that miscarriage that caused all the near-death experiences.
Oh.
So that's where all of this comes from, as far as I'm concerned. Each of my 3 were different. But it's the third one that drives me still. And in that third one, among the things that happened to me, a voice spoke. And I call it the voice like none other, because I don't know what else to call this voice. It was a voice bigger than big, larger than the universe. I mean, how do you describe a voice that big? It wasn't like an angel. It wasn't like an archangel. It wasn't like any of that kind of stuff. It was just, it was the universe talking to me. And it said, and I quote, test revelation. You are to do the research. 1 book for each death. Now, book number 1 was not named. Books 2 and 3 were named.
Oh.
I'm kind of thinking that maybe book number 1 might have been my first book, Coming Back to Life, which sold very well back in the day. But the second one was Future Memory. That's out. Anybody can get it. Let me warn you, it's not a book, it's a labyrinth. So when you start reading, keep reading. Don't skip around. Don't try to figure out, the rest of the story. Nope, you stay on the path. What do you do when you walk a labyrinth? You stay on the path. The purpose of the book is to change your brain, to bring you up to the next highest level possible for you in consciousness, in the brain-mind assembly. So it's a specific book. Every paragraph, every page, every sentence is part of the math I used to create the labyrinth. I was shown how to do that. So read Future Memory. The third one was a manual for developing humans. That's also out. And it really is a manual. It helps you to be a human being. We laugh about that. Of course I'm a human being. No. Back in the day, years and years, thousands of years ago, Hugh was the sound of God. And human was God man, God woman. Right. So human is that idea of identity that you are a child of God. So how many of us are taught that? Yeah. You go to kindergarten, you go to first grade. on up through schooling, into high school, into college. How many of us are taught who we are
Right.
and how to be who we are? And the first section of the book, I really recommend for every near-death experiencer or everyone who's had a very strong or intense spiritual experience. The first things you need to learn after you've gone through one of these experiences is how to talk and how to handle yourself in life, but especially how to talk, because you come back and words just slip away. I mean, you don't know how to describe anything. What do you say? So the book teaches you how to talk.
Tell me when you wrote this. When was this written so that people can get a framework? Because you were way ahead of most of us in having a way to communicate. Because seriously, I still can't put into words what I see and experience.
It's been out now maybe 4 years.
Oh, okay. So it's fantastic. I don't
It's
I
fairly
don't
recent, yes.
yeah.
And it's full of thought form drawings. So get the book. It is a real manual. It's not the typical kind that you get from the bookstore, 10 ways to become a millionaire or something like that. No, no, no. This is a real manual
Okay.
that teaches you how to be who you are.
And it's perfect that you dropped it and created this right now as people are waking up, that they could have another way to um, activate who they really are.
It teaches you
That's
how to be who you are.
right, right. Cool.
We
Creative.
are all God beings, and it enables you to be the God being you were born to be and are right now. It teaches you how to think it, be it, be it in your life. There's all kinds of things in the book, of course, and toward the back of the book are very specifics on the spiritual path and what the spiritual path is and how to be on it, all that kind of stuff, and all these thought form drawings. I know you'll get a big kick out of that book. So those are the 3 books that I was, well, the first one, I really wasn't told what it would be or how, but those are the basics. And then to do the work, to do the actual research, I wasn't told how to do that. And being a cop's kid raised in a police station, yes, that's true. I'm a daughter of a police officer. And Twin Falls, Idaho. Um, my folks lived on an acreage outside of town, and the police force would use that field near my bedroom for the gunnery range.
Oh my gosh.
And I never ever heard a single shot. And I thought my father was lying to me. He said, "This is a gunnery range." Um, I didn't know. Never heard it. So that's how much I'm fully wherever I am.
Yeah, and you are. You are. I mean, anyone that meets
There.
you. Well,
So, so I used what my father taught, what I saw in the police station. I saw everything. And being a little kid then, I would run around the police station when no one was looking, and I would spy here, I would spy there. In those days, they had real keys. You had the doorknob, and then you had this big keyhole. So being a little kid, I'd go up to that keyhole for the interrogation room, and I'd look in there and I'd listen, and I never got over the fact that these victims would say, I just had a feeling I shouldn't get in that car. And my very logical mind was saying, well, why did you get in the car? Or I just had a feeling if I opened that door, something would happen. Well, why did you open the door, you dummy? So I sort of grew up having an insight in how people normally think and talk and act. And then very often my dad would take me during coffee breaks. He would take me home, and we didn't have television sets then, so my TV set was the police car windshield. And I would watch the beatings, and I would watch the arrests, and I would watch things going on. And of course, Dad said, you have to be invisible. You can't say a word, be invisible. So I became invisible, and I watched. And Dad always said, the body says more than the mouth does.
Oh.
So you're watching a person's body and how they're using it. I love and respect the scientific method of near-death research, but you cannot use words in advance of the experiencer and get the full picture. You can't do that. Yeah. Let's say, for instance, there's an accident. Cops on the beat. There's an accident. There are 3 witnesses. All the police officer can do is walk up to them and say, what did you see? If they say car, you can say car. If they say accident, you can say accident. But you cannot use those words in advance of the individual. So most of our research then and now is being done either by mail. Most of it's now done by computer. And you've got all these questions that the experiencer is asked to, talk to, or is this really true or partially true, or you check the boxes. That's antithetical to research.
Right.
Absolutely antithetical to research. All it's giving you is the basic superficial idea of what a near-death experience is and what the after effects of a near-death experience is. It's not giving you the full picture.
Well, you spent quite a bit of time with children.
I was a cop on the beat.
So, that's where you get really the true.
I did a lot of personal work. I must admit, in the last couple of decades, I've leaned more to the internet, but also letters, phone calls. Yes, I do a lot of that. But to begin with, I'd get into people's homes if I could.
Yeah.
One time I was in, where was it? It was in Minnesota, and a particular town in Minnesota. And I just, I walked a block, and I was knocking on doors, literally walking on doors, and just announcing myself. I'm a researcher. Did you have this kind of an experience or something like it? And I found one.
Wow.
I found one. That's how obnoxious I was. Well, not really obnoxious, but
well, no, driven.
I was a cop on the beat. So I did a lot of crazy things like that. But also, in the early days of my research, I had a job whereby it, I worked for an interconnect company after the fall of Ma Bell, which means I was working with telephone systems
Mhm.
in motels and hotels and this kind of thing, and I all over anywhere east of the Mississippi River. So I was sent all over to different states and teaching people how to use the new computerized switching systems. So I was in all kinds of spaces and places, um, and all kinds of things, of course, happened. Like this one time, and again, I'm in the Minneapolis area, and it's a big hotel that was being constructed. And I was working with 4 women at the switchboard, how to handle it, when the roof caved in.
Oh,
And we barely got out alive. And, when we're talking afterward, one woman said, "Well, that's like when I almost died." And I said, "Oh, almost died? And tell me about that."
wow.
So she had a near-death experience. Well, so did the other women in that group,
Oh my God.
and it was that kind of thing.
Wow.
And this one time I was in Macon, Georgia, just outside of Macon, Georgia, and I was working a motel complex, and I had some time off, so I walked down to the truck stop, and this time I was in the middle of the truck stop restaurant, and I had a little paperback, and I was just reading the paperback, and this guy comes up to me. I swear, is tall, a really big guy, wide and tall, and he says, "Lady, anybody sitting in that chair next to you?" I thought for a minute, no. Can I sit there? And again, I kind of thought, no, or excuse me, yes, that'd be fine. So he sat down just opposite me, puts his hands on the table, looks at me eyeball to eyeball. He says, "I want you to know about the time when I died."
Oh
He
my
said, "I also want you to know I still cuss, I still drink, and I still chase women. But I want you to know all about the time when I died." And he told me about his near-death experience. And it was this way for years and years and years. I finally decided that I must be wearing a signboard on my back that said, "Please tell me about your uh, uh, you know, please tell me about your near-death experience, because I have no way to account for what happened. All I know is that I was there at the moment I needed to be there,
Right.
and I got a lot of material. I also did the computer thing. I also did phone calls. I also did ads in newspapers and
Oh, you
magazines
did.
looking for people. So now I have nearly 5,000 adults and children. So, major study. All of my work is based on research. It's not fairy stories, it's research. And of course, the people's stories. Which certainly are not fairy stories, it's their stories.
Right. Right.
But I looked at it from their point of view, and also, whenever I could, I'd get into the family. How about the mom and the dad, or how about the husband or the wife, or the neighbors, or the health caregivers? I wanted to see the experience from as many different points of view as possible.
Mm.
it has always been my feeling that you cannot get the full story just from the individual. You need to broaden that picture. And again, I am a true researcher, but I'm more like a cop on the beat. You know, there's two types of research: vertical and horizontal. Vertical is the scientific method. It's up and down. They give you the framework. It's absolutely the skeletal structure, the framework that's absolutely necessary. But you need to go the horizontal.
Right.
You need to see how it affects people and what it's like for them with their families and in their home and on their job. You have to do more than just look at the experience or the phenomenon. You also have to look at how the phenomenon affects people.
Right. Right.
And that's what I did.
That's beautiful. Okay, so I have a couple questions for you. I probably have 1,000 questions for you.
But don't forget, I have to make an announcement pretty soon.
I don't know. I'm not going to forget. I promise. I promise. I promise. Cross my heart. Why do you think you had 3 near-death experiences? Why do you think? Because
God only.
one is, well, that's what it's so fascinating to me. I had a spiritually transformative experience, not a near-death experience.
I had a lot of those too.
Yeah, I bet. Because once you touch the mystical, right. So, but what do you think? Because what I see with everyone that I've met that has had a near-death experience or a spiritually transformative experience, they somehow have a new connection to their guides, their whether you call it God or their higher knowing. They get a memo and they act on it. They don't. Well, they may complain.
Yeah.
But what do you, is that a common thing that you would agree? That's what I see.
I had no choice. I had no choice. Because after my experiences, I had to relearn how to crawl,
Wow.
how to stand,
Wow.
how to tell the difference between left and right, how to see properly, hear properly, and rebuild all of my belief systems. There were times when the only logical thing I could say was, God is. And I would chant it. God is. God is. God is. That's the only thing that kept me sane. So I had to relearn everything from scratch.
Wow.
All over again. And in my own particular case, I was tossing everything. I was tossing soap. I was tossing pots and pans and sheets. Um, I I I challenged everything. For instance, on pots and pans, I sent off to the metallurgical. I sent out the various makers of pots and pans, got their metallurgical report, had it tested in a lab in Boise, Idaho, and only when I got the results of those tests would I accept a pot or a pan. And I had Revereware at that time, copper bottoms. All of them wound up in the trash. All of them. You cannot use Revereware. You cannot use copper bottoms. You can't. It works against your health. I got rid of all that. I got rid of clothes. I re-identified everything.
Wow.
And researched everything. And one of the things that kept me sane, that may sound weird, but it kept me sane. 2 books came into my life during this time frame. One of them was The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien.
Uh-huh.
Other one was Dune by Frank Herbert. In reading those books, I became every person good or bad, didn't make any difference. I went through all of the wars, everything, every one of them. And that's what enabled me to save my sanity, was to become all of those. And in Frank Herbert's book, what is it, the Jesuit witches or something, that these women were called. They had a particular litany that they would say every once in a while to help them handle difficulties. And I don't know why, but I rearranged the litany and reinvented it. And so their litany became I invented my litany on top of their litany.
Wow.
So I'd like to give it to you now.
Okay.
Fear is the mind killer. It is the little death. I will face my fear. It will pass over me, around me, and through me. And when it is gone, I will remain.
Wow.
And I would say that over and over again. It kept me sane.
That's perfect for right now. What people are going through right now is that it's perfect.
Say it again and again. It's in a manual for developing humans. It's there. And what I'm writing now is in my memoir. Well, I don't know what a memoir is. You know, you ask researchers to write a memoir. That's foreign. You know, an autobiography, a biography, a memoir. What are they? So I'm just writing a me book.
That's right. That's right. It's your story.
Telling people from birth on, because they don't know me. All they know is the me that died and came back. They don't know the me that was before then. And people are going to be very, very surprised when they get it. I call it edges, a different kind of life. I'm not quite done with it yet, but yeah, they're going to be very surprised.
I can't wait.
Who I am and
So,
all the things I did. And I did a lot. Among the things I did back in Boise, Idaho, I started, or I formed Idaho's first nonprofit metaphysical corporation by the name of Inner Forum. When it was working, easily over 3,000 people, maybe 4,000 people were helped by our programs.
wow.
I did things in a very big way because my thought always, from birth on, was to present what would help others.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what my life has always been. And I was a different kind of kid from birth. I mean, at the age of 5, I did my first double-blind study with my first research study. At the age of 5, I was always challenging everybody because I wanted to know what they were really talking about.
Right.
I wanted to know what the real deal was. And I was heavily influenced by Pearl Harbor, heavily influenced. Walking to school, first grade. In those days, if anybody died in the war effort, the government gave you a large gold star decal that you put on your living room window to tell the world one of the members of your family had died. So my walk to school, it's about a 5-block walk, but it was big blocks, like New York City blocks, big blocks. This one house overnight had, I think, 5 or 6 uh, gold stars overnight.
Oh,
And I mean, kids know. And I stood in front of that home and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. I do not remember a single morning in all of first grade when I didn't have to stop my tears and shudders just to walk in the door of my classroom.
wow.
And on top of that, I was born with synesthesia and dyslexia. Well, in those days, they didn't hardly know what dyslexia was. Even in these days, most teachers don't know what synesthesia is, and they better find out, because a lot of kids now are being born with synesthesia. It's in the limbic system of the brain, and it's different or twisted or odd forms of being able to different senses. So I was the only kid in school who could smell color, see music, and hear numbers.
Beautiful.
I mean, that was synesthesia. I wasn't lying. That was my world.
Right.
To them, it was lying. So I spent most of my first grade on a tall stool in front of the class, having to wear a tall conical hat that said dunce on it, as an example of a bad child who told lies.
Wow.
The principal did everything he could to kick me out of school. Fortunately, my mother stood up for me and insisted that I stay in school. I did. And at the end of the year, I was so angry. I was so mad that I just decided all adults are stupid and I never want to be one when I grow up. Just terrible thing. And when you go to the movies on Saturday morning, the kids shows, and always we would have some kind of serial story and a cowboy story of some kind, and then always a newsreel. I don't know why the newsreel for little kids, but we did.
Terrible.
And always Hitler and his goose steppers. I grew up with Hitler. Says Hitler pounding on his podium. Here goes by all the troops, and I would call them goose steppers for the way they moved.
Yeah.
And I grew up with Hitler and the goose steppers. Anyway, it was a crazy kind of childhood, but I was always looking. I was always measuring. I was always listening. I was always testing.
Mm-hmm.
I never stopped doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So looking back now at my memoir, whatever it is, and looking again at those words that were said to me, test, revelation. You are to do the research.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, well, why not? I mean, look at what kind of kid I was to begin with. I mean, God probably wanted a shortcut. Let's get one that's already that way and turn her loose. Well, that's what I did.
That's great. Well, that's why the quote that you said about fear and courage, that I feel is the theme of us going forward right now. And you definitely are demonstrating that you came in with that with an inquisitive mind and wanting to know more. So it's not staying within the construct. It's like, well,
no, I never stayed within anybody's construct.
Well, I think that so many near-death experiencers did not say anything or didn't, I mean, they didn't even share much of their story until 20, 30 years later.
You were ashamed of it or scared of it,
Well,
or
they thought it was too weird, and they thought it would alienate them from others.
you couldn't deny the after effects.
Right.
And so they're going through all this stuff, and they don't know how to handle it. Let me give you one. My latest book, The Forever Angels, which is a major study of people who had their near-death experience between birth and the age of 5. So I'm going after the little ones, the little bitty ones. And I'll just quickly tell a couple of things about that particular study. Again, 397 people. Most could remember their birth.
Wow.
1/3 could remember life in the womb.
Wow.
Now, when we're talking about abortion today and the mother's right, take a look at that again. Because the mother is thinking she's giving birth to an amoeba. She's giving birth to a fully developed intellect.
Wow.
Now, maybe that child can't do anything more than cry and boo. But inside, that mind is seeing and knowing everything that's going on. So this idea of abortion, that I write about this in the book, by the way, how to handle this. And my recommendation is, if you find yourself pregnant and you don't want the baby, look, this is not a you issue. It is not a baby issue. It is the soul. To get in touch with the soul, go into a deep state of meditation and ask that soul, would it like to leave? Would it be willing to leave? Or does it prefer to stay? Even if times are rough, would it want to stay? Ask that soul. Now, that happened in our family. My oldest daughter, she went ahead and did this prayer, and she got in touch with that baby. You know, she's only like maybe 3 months pregnant, 3 months pregnant, and found out it was a boy. And she explained the situation. You know, she just wasn't in a position to handle a baby. Would it be willing to go on to another couple? That soul said, yes.
Wow.
I'm willing to go on and find another couple. So therefore, she went ahead with the abortion.
Wow.
So I'd recommend that, because we're talking the soul here. We're not talking the woman's right to choose. We're not talking the baby's right to be born. We're talking about the soul. What is best for the soul? Now, I'm willing to go along with first and second trimester. I don't want to, but I'm willing. But the third trimester, you know, unless there's a medical reason, then that child should be born, because that's a real child, and this is a child that can remember and feel and know. And I'm finding that over and over and over again with this book, 397 people. I had a phone call maybe about a year after it was out, and it was a New York City cop, a guy, maybe in his late 40s, and he was crying crying and crying and crying. He just read that book, The Forever Angels.
Oh, wow.
And he said, I now, for the first time, understand why I'm the way I am. Thank you for writing that book.
Okay, now you got to tell us, what does that mean? How is he the way that he is? Do you know what that meant?
Yeah, he died at the age of 2.
Oh, okay. And then oh, that's cool. So
Wait,
I,
yeah.
I almost died at 2 weeks. There was an influenza, but I don't remember anything. Is there a way to try to remember?
Yes, it's all in the book.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I need to get that book.
The Forever Angels. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know that I'm just fascinated with all of this work, and I really have to say, for people that are new to the near-death experience or the spiritually transformative experience groups, that if you participate with them, you'll see people's hearts are so open, and it's like you feel like you're home again. There's this egoless, very little ego, community of people that want to encourage and uplift because they saw the bigger picture. Would you agree?
Well, I think that's part of it. I think the other part is they are so different that it's not a matter of comparing before and after.
Here we go.
There's no comparison between before and after. So they're looking for a better way to live it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a comparison. Forget comparisons. They're looking for a better way to live it. How do I live this way and still have a reasonable life?
Exactly.
You know, what can I do with this? And a manual for developing humans is all about that.
Yeah.
So absolutely get the manual, and it's a real manual, by the way. It's not just a book you read; it's a book you do.
Perfect.
So
Well, this is about experience. This is not about head knowledge. This is about embodying the experience and really going forward from that level. And
it's about handling the experience, not just embodying
right.
it,
Perfect.
but learning how to live it, handle it.
Perfect.
Because so many of them, it scares a lot of people. And some people turn away from it because they're so scared, or it just doesn't make sense to them. So in some cases, people go the other way. But most of the people will embrace it or find a way to embrace it and find a way to live it.
Well, don't you think also, like you said that your mother really fought for you and really helped you
In the first grade.
And yeah, well, in first grade, but assume you still got that someone had your back. I was, oh, you didn't. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was born illegitimate at a time when that was a crime.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it was late at night. A little clinic near what we call the Rim to Brim Bridge. Actually, it was a huge, big chasm in the Snake River. So it was a huge canyon, and I was born just a few miles from the canyon. And I'm a canyon woman, canyon girl. Grew up that way, so that's why I called my memoir "Edges" because I climbed those edges over and over and over again. But no, I was raised. Get this. I was raised in the reclaimed deserts of southern Idaho by a Norwegian couple.
Oh.
And yep, I was raised by Norwegians from the Sognefjord. Can you imagine that? And so it was just a crazy way to live. And I explain all of it in the book.
Yeah, I want to hear this book.
how I wound up with Norwegians, but I did. I did not know my mother was my mother until I was 4 years old. And I never liked her. She never liked me. Absolutely never.
Wow.
And it took decades before we could sort of mend the fences and accept each other as we are, and to really love each other. I really love her. I don't know if she ever came to really love me, but you know, the experiences are all in the book.
Okay, yeah, this
Yeah,
can
this is
be
very different, very different. I was an odd kid from the beginning, and I was raised in an odd manner by these Norwegians. And I really thought I was one.
well, this is very similar to what I was trying to say, and I'm not being very articulate, I don't think, but I think that when you have extrasensory perception, which you saw and felt color in a
Yeah.
totally different way than everyone else, but you tried to explain it, and I just claimed.
No, I just decided everybody else was stupid. They
Oh,
couldn't do it too.
oh,
I did
see,
I did not understand why I was different.
oh,
I
so
had no way of knowing that I was different.
wow.
I just thought everybody else was stupid. I really did.
Well, because the only reason why I'm bringing this up is that what happened with me is I felt I heard and saw things, and I would tell I'm number 4 out of 5. My mommy had 5 kids in 7 years, and I'd tell somebody, one of the kids, and they'd like look at me like I was crazy. So I just shut up. I just didn't say a word because I was afraid
In the book, you have got to read
of.
Forever Angels. That story is in the book.
Oh wow, because it was like, okay, I'll just use my superpowers for myself, and then I felt like I had guides. I had 4 guides with me all the time, and I felt like, because I kept on saying, how do you get love? How do you play the game here? How do you get love? It's all conditional. How do you? It's
Yeah.
like, what is this game? And so I would rely on these 4 beings that were and they always protected me. They always told me the right thing to do, not the humans. The humans wouldn't necessarily guide me. So anyway, so that's why I was asking if you, but it sounds like you still expressed what you saw, even if no one else expressed
Yeah.
it. Did
Yeah.
you try?
I up and down and up and down. Lots of things happened, and we can
Wow.
go through that in this show because it's just so much to go through.
Wow.
Um, just know that because of my inquisitive mind and my absolute demand to understand, I wound up in the middle of a whole bunch of things. Like, for instance, in high school, you have the Miss Twin High contest. That infuriated me. I said, "Where's the Mr. Twin High contest?" On my own, I started a Mr. Twin High contest, and it was big. Made all the papers. I mean, it was big. I was doing things like that all the time.
That's fantastic.
Because if it wasn't right, I'd go in and I'd correct it.
Oh, fantastic.
I mean, I was just born that way.
That's so
It
cool.
it had to balance, it had to make its sense, and if it didn't, I'd find out why.
Okay, so PMH, I want to make sure that
Yes,
do you
yes,
want
we're
to,
gonna do it again, we're gonna do it again, yes.
okay, we'll have to do this again.
Okay, everybody,
So you want to tell your,
hold your breath. At 3:53 a.m. this morning, that voice spoke to me again. It has not spoken to me since I died. It spoke to me again. And it said, that I was to expand this next book I'm going to be doing after my memoir. I was going to broach the idea of aliens in near-death experiences. It told me to expand that into a research project. So here's the announcement. If it fits you, please comply. Any near-death experiencer who had an encounter with an alien being, either during their episode or within a year afterward, is eligible to participate. Near-death experience is defined as an experience that occurs when nearly dying, coming close to death, or being pronounced or thought dead, and then reviving. During or after that experience, seeing or encountering an alien being or feeling self as one of them. Describe what happened. Send your experience. Get pencil and paper, everybody. Send your experience to PMH Atwater at either P.O. Box 7691, Charlottesville, Virginia, 22906, or via email to PMH, that little @ sign, PMHAtwater.com. You used PMH twice. PMH at PMHAtwater.com. Drawings are welcome. They must be black and white, no color accepted. Everything sent must be accompanied by your giving me permission to use, signed and dated. Without that permission, I will be unable to use your story. So I'm broaching now the idea of alien encounters. There have been some. I had one. If you want to participate in a study of that, then please contact me again. My website or my email, pmh at pmhatwater.com, or P.O. Box 7691, Charlottesville, Virginia, 22906. If you want to draw a picture, that's fine, but it cannot be color. And there must be permission given by you for me to use your material. Without that permission, I cannot use it. I argued with that voice for over an hour. I didn't want to do any more research. But I see now where that is wise, because I was kind of going to broach the topic anyway. And now I want to broaden the topic. So it's not just me and what I've done with children. I've done a lot with children before, if you want to read that. Let's see. Children and near-death experiences, I believe, was the first book I wrote about that. And there's a whole chapter in there on the alien experiences. And there's some stunning ones with kids. So I'm not interested in the adult. Well, wait a minute. Yes, adult or child. Anybody.
Yeah.
Who then encountered an alien being or something like that, who then would like to talk about that or like to share that experience. I'm open to hear what you have to say. I'm not going to tell you how to say it. That's up to you. Please share in any way that it feels right for you to share. If you want to draw, fine. But whatever you do, I must have permission or it goes in the wastebasket. I cannot use it if I do not have permission to use. So that's the next project.
Fantastic.
I didn't know it, but that's the next project.
And I'm honored that you announced it here.
This is
What about walk-ins, PMH? Would walk-ins also qualify?
well, if you've read any of my books, you know how I feel about walk-ins.
Oh, I haven't.
In some cases, I truly believe that that can occur. But the way walk-ins are described, the way they are covered, I have a serious challenge with that.
Oh.
Because if you go with the way that is generally challenged, it fits all near-death experiencers and just about everybody else who had an unordinary experience. And you're not going to tell me that millions and millions and millions and millions of people throughout this earth who had a near-death experience is a walk-in.
Right.
Sorry, I don't buy it. But there are some people who do match what's described, but they're very, very few. You want to know what a real walk-in is? And there are lots of stories about real walk-ins. Let me give you one of those.
Okay.
A particular friend of mine was in the Himalayas. She was hiking along around. She was an older woman, and the rest of the crew was ahead of her. And she, it was a rocky hillside, and she lost her balance. Suddenly, a child manifested, grabbed her by the hand, held her, and enabled her to get out of that rocky area and on foot. Then the child disappeared. That's a real walk-in. And I've seen many of them. One time when I was working for the bank in Boise, Idaho, and it was midday, and I was walking up the street. There was a woman maybe 10, 12 feet from me, ahead of me, was walking along, and all of a sudden she disappeared.
Yep.
Looked for her everywhere, gone. That's a walk-in. My son saw a whole carload full of them. He was at his school in Boise, Idaho. He had a bike. He was on his bike going home when he saw a whole carload of people go up this road near the high school. Got halfway up the road and disappeared. He came home and he was thunderstruck. I mean, he was frightened. So I set him down. In our family, anything can happen. So I set him down, and we had a talk about walk-ins, what real walk-ins are, what the new popular version of walk-ins is. And I said real walk-ins are normal, happens all the time, all over our planet. It's you're okay. And my son felt so relieved to hear that.
Yeah.
That he went on. That didn't bother him at all. And I was thinking to myself, how wonderful it is in our family that we can talk about anything.
Yes.
And it doesn't bother anybody. You know, we can talk about anything, and my kids will be fine. And that's true. So I truly find this idea of walk-ins, the way it's being billed now, to be insulting.
Oh, wow.
It's insulting because it insults the intellect. It insults the soul. It insults this wonderful idea that we are living in a world of miracles. We are living in a world where at any moment in time, we can change and do things differently.
That's right.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is normal.
Yes. Those aren't superpowers; those are regular powers. So, PMH, thank you so much. We're almost out of time, so and we'll have to do this again. This is my second time getting to do this with you, and I get to see you in person soon. But
my husband's coming with me.
Oh, fantastic!
With me.
That's so cool. Well, is it okay if I show the screen? Let me show the screen.
Sure.
And you can talk a little bit about what you're going to be talking about. Here we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, there I am at the end.
Yeah, you are.
PMH Atwater. Yep, that's me.
So P.M.H is going to be one of the keynotes, and she's one of the distinguished speakers at the 2022 IONS conference.
Holland City. Yes, come. Yes. I have a talk, and the last 10 minutes of my talk, you'll get to see my husband. He will talk to. He had a near-death experience at the age of 9. He drowned in a motel swimming pool, and was pulled out by a woman who saw him drown. Pulled him out, and then she disappeared.
Oh, so angelic
intervention. Another one of those. You get to meet Terry.
That's fantastic. Well, so PMH, I wanted to let you explain what's so great about being at an IONS conference, real quick, and then we'll have to sign off. But what
you're brothers and sisters, and you're able to be in a community of fellows where each of us are equal, and we can talk about anything, and it feels good.
Yep. Perfect. Well, that's what we want you to know, that if you can't come in person, the IONS event is also available virtually. You can watch it. That's what we did the last 2 years during the lockdown. So you still will be able to participate and get the energy and the knowledge, because here is a group of people, the one in Philadelphia, we had over 500 people that are sharing their adaptability and their knowledge that they've gained from being aware of the bigger cosmos. And that's available to all of us. We just forgot. So this study, this knowledge, and PMH, and I so love being around your energy. Thank you so much. Can't wait to be with you again.
You betcha.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, PMH. So,
Everybody, bye.
yeah, thank you, and thank you for using this format for
Yeah,
your first announcement of your new project, your
yes.
20th book. Oh my God! Thank you.